There's one book that I do not have in the stack, but this is a stack I read in September. I read quite a lot of books, and I'm surprised at how many I read. September was quite a busy month. August was even more busy, but September was quite busy as well. 6, I think, were audio, and the rest were physical reading. Okay, I'm just gonna start. So, I read The Fellowship of the Ring. Didn't really like it. I only gave it 2 stars. So this is when Frodo has this one magical ring, can pretty much grant him a wish. But this ring is also very dangerous, and so he has to bring it to this one sacred, or I say sacred, don't know how you want to put it, this one place where it'll be kept for forever, pretty much. Those of you who know me, I don't like creepy things. I can't, even PG-13 movies I have a hard time with, just because some of them are gross and ugly, and I just can't stand them. And that's why I dropped this down a few stars, because it was just quite creepy, even when I was reading and listening to it, because I was doing on and off. So I just didn't enjoy it, and I am not going to read the rest of the series. So those will be 2 books that I will not be reading for my 21 classics to read in 2021. But I just didn't like it, and I don't really want to read the rest. I'm not really interested in what happens. So that was about a 2.5 star. I read Beowulf. This is part of my school assignment. Honestly, nothing that I can really tell. He kills Grendel. And then after Grendel's dead, he parties a lot. They'll go to war sometimes, and then a dragon comes. He slays it, but then he dies because of the dragon that has bitten him. I don't really know what to say. Give it 1 star. Did not like it. And it was written in, I guess, like poetry, free verse style. I hate reading free verse. It's so hard to understand a lot of things, and that's why I was really hard to understand. So that was a 1 star. This one was a 2 star. I'm gonna find my 3 star. Okay, I read Piper. I read this while we were on a trip going to Minnesota while my dad was preaching. This was a pretty easy read. Some of the pictures were kind of gory, and I didn't really like it. But this is about the Pied Piper and how this deaf girl finds him out and kind of takes a liking to him, but later on she realizes who he really is. I think a lot of people know who the Pied Piper was, trying to draw these children to work with him in these mines to gather all these, well, that's the one story I read. I think there's different people who write different stories about it, but, and then he tries to make it, make a good deed out of it, I guess, and draws these rats that are in this town. Anyway, and she is deaf. She became deaf when she was 8, and so she knows some English, what do you call it? Words. So like when deaf people, or when people sign or speak, because some can, they don't say the, they don't say a, they don't say an, that kind of thing, but she does, and that was because up until she was 8 she could hear.
As a mom, I wanted to step in and kind of expound on what my daughter was trying to say. So we have some friends in the deaf community, and what she means is there isn't sign language for you are beautiful and I like to spend time with you so much. You would have you beautiful. Let's time together. And it just, that's what she was trying to say, that this particular person had more of a vocabulary in her speech.
And she still has problem reading, so the lady she stays with helps her. But anyway, it's kind of like about this Pied Piper and her meeting each other. She takes a liking to him. It's kind of like them sharing their stories of how they came to be, I guess. So that was a 3-star. My friend really wanted me to read this, and so, well, it's not necessarily that. She got it and it looked interesting, and so I asked if I could borrow it, and so here I am. This is about this bakery, or this family of, well, let's see, 4 kids, I think. Family of 4 or 5 kids, and they have this bakery, and these different treats can either heal a sickness, pretty much heal anything, and people are always wondering why. And then this mayor from another town asks if these parents can come and bake their magical, I think it was scones, that would heal people. And so they leave, or the parents leave, and now Rosemary, the main character, is in charge of this bakery, but she's told not to touch the magical cookbook. Well, then Rose's aunt comes and wants to help out, but as she's helping out, Rose gets suspicions of why she came after her parents left, and why she seems like a little overly, I don't know how to say it, but she's trying to get this cookbook, but Rose doesn't quite know why. So as Rose is running this bakery, she decides to use the cookbook, and catastrophe happens. And on top of that catastrophe, she also is figuring out why her aunt is coming and wants to take this cookbook. So, quite interesting. There were, I don't know how you want to say, I guess like the word shut up was in here. There was a few like disrespectful words there. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay. Let's see. I read 4 through 7. No, this could be a shock to everyone. I've only read the first 3 books, and I haven't picked them up in years, and so I decided it was time to not reread the series, but pick up where I left off. So I have On the Banks of Plum Creek, and this is when Laura and her family decide to move to Walnut Grove, and Laura has many adventures near this creek, and she enjoys spending time at this creek, and it's just most of her adventures that happen while she's living near Plum Creek, is what they call it. This one is when Laura, oh my goodness, I have never known a family who moved from place to place to place, but this is when Laura Ingalls and her family moves to the Dakota Territories, DeSmet, I think it was, or DeSmet. Anyway, and more adventures of when she moves there. Again, like these type of books are more of what happens in like a year or more. And so it's kind of hard to do everything, or else I would spoil some things that would happen. So it's mainly just her diary. And then they are still living in DeSmet, and this is when a huge blizzard comes in October, and there is a, I think, 19-year-old boy, I think, maybe younger, Almanzo. Almanzo comes and, I guess, like, saves everyone. He finds, what is it? This wheat, because all the food is gone, all the hay is gone, there's no more firewood, and so he's finding this wheat and oats just to save everyone. So that one was very, very good. Little Town on the Prairie, still same, but now they are living, let's see, yeah, the Ingalls. The Ingalls are living in the town, I guess. Well, I guess they were living in the town here, and they would live in the town for a little bit and then go to a farm and live there for a while. And so I guess that's what happens during this time. And Laura takes a liking to Almanzo, and they start to see each other. So in the evening, she goes and sees Almanzo, after she's done working just to send Mary to a school. Yeah. So this one was when Mary had gotten scarlet fever and became blind, and so in this one, Laura's trying to make money to send Mary to a school for deaf and blind people, for the blind. That will send Mary to a college for the blind. Yeah. So I read these. I gave all these 4 stars because even though they were good, they were amazing. But it's just, how do I say it without being rude? It's not rude, but they weren't quite a 5-star for me. I'll just put it at that. Okay. Now to my 5 stars. I have one more book too. That was a 2-star. And that was Out of Control by Mary Connealy. I heard someone saying Connealy, and now I'm like, is it Connelly or is it Connealy? So I'm going to say Connealy. That one was Out of Control. This is when a guy named Rafe Kincaid rescues this woman who was stuck in a cavern, and he soon takes a liking to her, and then he realizes that there is more than what his eye sees. There is some family issues with this one girl, Julia, that he saved, and I love Mary Connelly's books, but I did not like this series, or this particular book. It was so full of romance. It was way too much for me to handle. I did finish it. I liked the adventure in it, and that's what kept me going. But other than that, the romance was just so heavy, like more heavier than I would think Mary Connelly would. Okay, going back to the Tender Years. Okay, the Tender Years is when Virginia, I keep getting these 2 girls mixed up. Virginia is really struggling through her teen years. She's wanting to have fun with her friends, but she goes a little too far and gets in trouble, or not necessarily in trouble, but in trouble with her parents, because she knows it was wrong to do it, and yet she still did it. And so she's just really struggling with her teen years in the first book, and along with her struggles, she has friend struggles with her friend Jenny, who is very mischievous, and Virginia is trying to figure out how to make Jenny a Christian, I guess, and less devious and mischievous. Interesting talking lately. And the second book I read was A Searching Heart, and again, she is struggling, but she's much older, and she has made a liking with a boy named Jameson, and along with her love for Jameson comes more troubles, especially with Jenny, who is also in love with Jameson, but Jameson and Virginia and Jameson are more into each other. Later on in the book, Jameson decides that it's time to separate and that they're not made for each other and that God will find a different person for each of them. And it's really heartbreaking for Virginia, especially as she's having a lot of struggles with her friend Jenny and her moving into her adult years. That just adds more to her struggles, I guess. Next one is A Quiet Strength. This is when Virginia meets a boy, or a man, I guess, named Jonathan, who is coming to help out his grandmother, who is living by herself. She takes a liking to him, and as she's taking a liking to him, they start to court. As she's telling him her dreams and he's telling her dreams, they decide that maybe it's right for them to get married, and so, yeah. Oh wait, no. That was the end of this one. This one is when they are married, and she is living with Jonathan's grandmother while he is building their home, and she realizes that maybe they should have waited until the house was ready because she never really sees Jonathan anymore, and thinks that it was quite useless to get married when she doesn't see very much of him. Then Jenny comes into the picture, and Jenny's already married, but when Jenny comes to visit, Virginia has questionable ideas about how is Jenny's marriage really going. Mindy, that was Jenny's child. And Jenny is about ready to give Mindy up for adoption because Jenny's husband doesn't like the idea of having a girl or a child right now. So Jenny's gonna put Mindy up for adoption. Jonathan and Virginia decide to take her in. So this one is when Mindy is a lot older, around 8 or 9, and Jenny comes and decides that she wants Mindy back after her husband got in a serious crash. Now Jenny wants her child back. But because Jonathan and Virginia took it in, they have to go to court because not only did Jenny give it to them, but she can't really take the child back, but she still wants it. And so they have to go to court, and it is so heart-wrenching for Virginia and even Jonathan, who loved Mindy since she was 3 when they came to live with her, and along with sorrows comes many tears. But something came up that ended up leaving Jonathan and Virginia taking care of Mindy, and yeah, it was quite sad. That one was a little more sad, and it was even more sad, I think, for Virginia, seeing Jenny so thin and pale and not her normal glamorous self, and that was because she has been living in a dump house, and now Virginia and Jonathan don't think it is right for Jenny to take Mindy back when Jenny can barely care for her own self, and then that responsibility would be on Mindy's shoulders. So it's like a battle of who is going to get this child, Mindy, and it made me cry a few times. I'm like, this poor child is going through this guess like not stage in life, but time of life where she has to pick between two families, and it's a hard decision because one family, she knows that they love her, and one family is just, or then the other family is not necessarily, the thought of her like coming to live doesn't bring her joy, and it's like that battle of who do I pick. So anyway, I read, I think it was 17 or 18 books in September, and whew, quite a lot. So those were all the books that I read, including one other book which was Out of Control. Did not like one. So I can finally put my books away, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Well, hello readers. I know my daughter has filmed a wrap up for September. It's almost the end of October. She is just like taking off with her reading, and I'll be honest, the last several months I barely get any time to read right now. Between well, there's just so much going on. I won't even try to cover it in here. I do have 2 books to share with you. So the first one I read, John, get out of there. The first one that I read was The Cryptographer's Dilemma by Johnny Alexander. And this tells the story of somebody that basically decodes some of the different ways that she's able to help World War II. And it's very interesting because it's centered around these letters that are sent from and to doll owners, as in like baby dolls, but these are dolls that collectible dolls, and they are thinking that these letters actually are coded messages that somebody is sending to Japan, I believe. I think it's actually both. I think it's Japan and Germany. I don't remember. But they're sending it to our enemy, U.S. enemy, which is why I think it's Japan. So we didn't even enter World War II until Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. So she goes undercover with a FBI agent, and they are going undercover as a brother and sister, and basically they are trying to figure out what this doll shop owner knows. And it's Christian fiction, and it's very easy read. It's not like picking up a Recipes book, and it was just honestly, right now I just need those lighthearted moments, and I really enjoyed kind of where it was going. I enjoyed seeing what I enjoyed reading about the uniqueness of using letters, decoded letters from doll makers. Like, that is something that I haven't heard. Letters to friends, yes, that were decoded messages, but actual, hey, I'm looking for this type of doll, hey, you can find this type of doll, and then it was sent to, I think this is where I get German kind of stuck on here, but I think it was sent to like South America and then forwarded, or from somebody in South America up to, and so all of those details just escape me, but it was very enjoyable, and it's part of this heroines of World War II. And the other one that was part of this is A Picture of Hope. Now this one I read a while ago, so some of the, it's not just fresh on my mind to continue talking about it. So I do have a full review that I'll leave down in the description box below that I did for my blog. The second one that I read was A Picture of Hope by Liz Tolsma, and this is her second or third one that I've read by her. And this was probably a little bit closer to my heart because this deals with some special needs children, and she uses a term that I personally have never heard before, but she did kind of do a disclaimer in the front that, hey, to keep authentic with the times, I use this terminology even though it is not a acceptable word now, which Mongoli, I think is what it was. I have never heard of mongoloid. I've never heard of that term. So it's basically children with Down syndrome, and they were called mongoloids. Again, never heard of that term. So this kind of centers around the rescue of these Down syndrome children. She is a newspaper reporter that basically sneaks on board a ship to kind of get on the beaches of Normandy and kind of give a female perspective on this, to kind of give the wives and mothers back home something that they would like to read, and give her kind of a voice within these reports. And what ends up happening is she comes into contact with a ex-German. I call him ex-German because his father, pretty much off the bat. His father is high German military, Nazi, and he's refused to be a part of that. And so he is kind of an undercover working for France and trying to give them hope. And they basically kind of team up together after certain events. She's trying to get back home, and he's trying to get back to helping with the front lines. And then these kids kind of come into the picture through certain circumstances. And the circumstances are actual events that happened, because I remember the story about the German Nazis burning a whole town inside a church. The women and children were being burnt alive inside the church. The men were taken out. I remember reading that story. So there's a couple of these events in here that do play a part in our two main characters' lives. For me, our main heroine was not a likable person. She is very, I need to be in the action. I need to do the things that I want to do my way. And everybody around her is like, would you just stop? You're putting all of us in danger. And she's just like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And you kind of get from Liz Tolsma why she is this way. But to be honest, I feel like that was just an excuse for her to act the way she needed to, or the way that she felt she needed to act, because of an incident that happened in her childhood. And to be honest, I think it just kind of ended up being a cop-out for her character. But honestly, that was also something that I really appreciated about this book, is that we don't have a perfect character here. She has a heart of gold for these children that was beautiful to see. She's not the person that I would feel would have my back in some pretty intense situations. And because of that, it's kind of that torn feel that I have with liking and disliking this character. So I'm like, hey, you've got a good quality. This is what you're good at. You wouldn't have my back. You would make things more difficult for me. So you need to, we need to split ways here. So there's things like that, again, I appreciate about the book. The characters are not a lovable character. So if you are the kind of person that wants to open a book and read and fall in love with the characters and things like that, I don't think you're going to like her at all. Or maybe it's just a personality thing, that maybe some people love that go get 'em, come hell or high water type of thing, but I didn't think it was a great quality. Insofar as faith elements, because both of these are Christian, I would say that this has a little bit more of Christianness to it. This one kind of has a little bit in it because we have some Catholic nuns, and one actually grew up Protestant and after some trauma ended up at the Catholic Church, where all these Mongoloid kids are being held. And so you have deeper conversations here, but I felt that as character growth within growing closer to God, growing closer to growing from your circumstances, I almost felt like this one did it better. So anyway, that's going to be it for these two books. I'm going to have a fun time editing this out. But these are the two books that I've read recently. I got both of these because I am part of the Celebrate Lit team, and so I get to receive these books in exchange for a free and honest review, which, as you can tell, I am not above giving my honest opinion. I did appreciate them being Christian fiction because, I'll be honest, with the way the world is right now, I just need something a little bit lighter and just to kind of restore my soul, which is, you know, kind of sometimes that's all we want for a book reading, is just to kind of escape and just be restored. And then we can dig a little bit deeper and think a little bit more and go a little bit meatier. But right now, just some pure enjoyment was the best thing. So until next time, have another cup of coffee and read another chapter. And I will see you very shortly with more videos.